Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Joyfully Ever After Through the Looking Glass combo with yours truly, Heidi Esther. I am author, speaker, and joyful purpose mentor you have been waiting for, here to share relatable stories. And it sounds like someone is trying to call me, so sorry about that if you heard that. I'm here to share my relatable stories, encouraging messages, empowering conversations. And they are calling me again, and I am not going to answer that. Sorry about that. Here I go again. So I am here to let you know that you are worthy of finding your joyful purpose. I'll help you eliminate joy blocks like people pleasing, guilt, and regret, and all that kind of stuff, so you can liberate your heart and soul and get closer to living fully into your divinely given joyful purpose. Yes, even when your dogs wake you up so early, you need to have a morning nap, like what happened to me today. Okay, today I am going to bring on my guest, and we're going to talk about what is the looking glass.
Hello.
Hello. This is my guest, Ej. So before we get started on our fantabulous conversation, I'm going to say I want to talk about what is through the looking glass combo. These are combos with different kinds of teachers. So Ej is a different kind of a teacher who have new tools, like new juicy kind of personal development tools for us to know and like heal and understand ourselves better, our inner world. So that tool could be like yoga, astrology, or like enneagram or other like personality type assessments. Like kind of like how when you grew up and you figured how you learned, like in classroom environments, or like you climbed in trees and scraped all your knees and stuff, or you were like hardcore awesome on the cheerleading squad. So these are different kinds of tools for the personal development, like mirrors to see yourself, so you can find the best ways to learn and see your power and beauty and joy. So today I'm so grateful to be sharing this space with you, Ej. Yay!
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Oh, it is my pleasure. And so Ej is going to share a bit of their journey and the tools they use to know and grow themselves and others badass. And what is that tool?
I'm here to talk about tarot and oracle cards, which are really just a great way. You can do a lot of things with them. They're great for, personal development. You can use them to, if you're working through trauma or anything like that, it's a great thing to go along with traditional therapy. I would never recommend it to replace professional help, but it definitely complements that very well. You can do journal prompts with them. You can, get in touch with your higher self or whatever your belief system is. Like really,
So it sounds like there's so many different ways you can use these. It's like super flexible.
Yeah,
And
you name it, you can probably do it.
yeah, so I would like to do first, if anyone is here with us live or in the replay, please feel free to put your questions below in the chat, or you can always email me at howdy@heidiesther.com if you have any questions whatsoever about tarot cards or how to get in touch with Ej. And so I'm gonna do a little bio on you, and then I want you can share a little bit about if I missed anything in the bio. So Ej is a wise beyond their years college student studying currently creative writing. They've been interested in tarot since they knew what it was, so I'm very interested in when that happened. I know Ej as an exceedingly well-skilled archer, overall delightful human, and someone with an inclusive and effervescent personality, which, of course, you can see that today. So, welcome to the show, Ej. Yay! And so I always start with one question before we get started. How are you, and how are you taking care of yourself today?
I mean, today I let myself spend an extra 10 minutes in bed. Just having fun on my phone.
Nice. So you brought the joy in early.
Yeah, like I was like, you know what? I don't need to be out of bed that quickly. Like I know I'm gonna be ready in time anyway. Like it's gonna be okay. And just having that little extra time to like, watch like a Bob Ross video on YouTube or just something calming to set myself up for the day like that.
I
I've
love
been
me
doing
some
that
Bob
for.
Ross. I have Bob Ross sleep stories that
Oh really?
I listen to sometimes. Yeah. They're on the Calms sleep app. They have like a whole meditation thing, but then they have a whole sleep story thing, and there's like some Bob Rosses on there.
I need to look into that.
Yeah, because they make the volumes like go down so that it helps you like slowly let go of what Bob is saying and just enjoy him taking you into dreamland.
That sounds nice to help me fall asleep.
Oh yeah. And as I want to let you know that your Aunt Kel from New Mexico is here.
Hi.
They are cheering. Auntie Cal is totally cheering you on right now.
Hi, Cal.
So yay. So today I took a morning nap because my dog got me up about an hour earlier than normal. And so by 8 o'clock, I was like, I feel like it's lunchtime. So I was like, I pulled like a super like older than my years move. And I was like, I'm just going to lay down here. And if I fall asleep, great. And if not, I'm listening to waterfall noise. So it's all good.
Sometimes you just need that like hour of quiet time, and it doesn't always have to be a nap for it to be relaxing.
Yeah, it could just be like, yeah. Like sometimes I get that with when I meditate in the morning. Like I get that space. Totally. So let's get into the journey. All right. So can you if I missed anything in the introduction, please share it. And you talked a little bit about what you hope to share with the world. And so with your tarot reading gifts and knowledge. And also, I did mention that Ej, or maybe I didn't mention it, Ej is non-binary. So please explain to the Joyful Ever After community what being non-binary human means.
So I think to explain being non-binary, I first have to explain what it means to be trans, or transgender, which is where, my body at birth was assigned one gender. Oh, hi, Sarah.
Oh yeah, so, here we go. Yeah, Sarah's saying hello as well. Sarah McNeil.
The gender binary is like everyone's either male or female, and it is that like societal structure of assigning everyone to one of those two groups, regardless of if like their body falls outside of it, or if they're like me and my body, to my knowledge, does fall inside of one of those categories, but I'm not a woman. Like I'm just not.
Because it's something like you intrinsically know that of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna do a little vocabulary adventure.
All right. I like this.
So we've gone over. So to be transgender is to not associate with the gender you were assigned at birth in one way or another. So I was born in a female body. I am not female. Now, there are a lot of people who they do still associate with the other side of the gender binary. I do not, and that's what non-binary comes from. It means outside of that binary.
Okay.
And the way I explain this to people, like a lot of people say, oh yeah, it's a spectrum. But I think a color wheel is a better analogy. Ooh. Because it's not like you're either male, female, male, or somewhere in between. It's like,
it's not like red, blue, or purple. It's
not
like
that, male is red, female is yellow.
Yeah.
You have people who are purple, you have people who are green, you have people who aren't really on the color wheel at all and they don't really understand it. You have people who switch between colors. Like it's, it can be incredibly complicated. But the beautiful thing about it is unless you're really getting to know somebody, you don't necessarily need to know exactly how they experience gender. They will let you know their pronouns, and that is how you refer to people.
That's the human respect component. I think that's
Yes.
so incredible.
But
I
it's
got a lot of
also,
questions around when I was figuring out my sexual identity. Like, people want to know a lot, but like, I'm still a person.
yeah.
Like, this is just who I am. I might, like, I'm wearing the same clothes, like I'm doing the same things. I just, I've just found another piece of myself that makes me feel more congruent on the
And
inside.
the thing about the difference in my experience between coming out for sexuality and coming out for gender is that with gender, you are asking people to perceive you differently. Because I went from saying, hey, address me as a girl with she, her pronouns and this name and this, to, hey, can I use they, them pronouns? And then eventually they, them, or he, him pronouns. And like another name, but it's also like, it's not just asking people to use different language to describe you, it's asking them to perceive you differently and to perceive you outside of the gender binary, which is difficult for some people because they have never, like, either never met a trans person or they don't, like, it's all that they've ever known is that binary. So breaking out of that can be kind of a challenge for some people.
Like, we're all assigned this structure. And so being willing to, there's no armband that you can like wear that says like, this is who I am or whatever. So stop putting me in this box, because I can't tell you how many times, like, when I was like newly divorced and I was like with my kids, people would be like, oh, is your husband coming with you? Like, oh, is your husband going to also sign this document? So it's like that expectation, right? That societal expectation that everything fits in these like sexuality boxes and these gender boxes, right? So it's like maybe now's the time to just like embrace the color wheel and have no expectations and let people be themselves. How hard is that? Apparently hard.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because, like, I understand, it's all some people have ever known. But for some people, it's not all they've ever known, and they choose not to be respectful about it. I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah. That's where the conversations are so important. Just to say like, hey, we're human too. We all like talk, and we need love and food and air and water. And so can't we all just start there?
Not only am I human, but this isn't like a trend. This isn't, like a Halloween costume that I'm just putting on because I'm bored. Like, this is my identity.
Yeah.
And
this is not your political view. Like, our identities are not political views. They're just our identities.
It is not political at all. It is human rights. And I think that should be entirely separate from politics. I think that should be like, everybody says human rights are good and we need to ensure that everyone has them.
Amen. Amen. All right. So let's get back to like your journey. So talk to me about the beginnings of your journey with tarot. Like, how did you, like, what age were you when you started to use them? Like, how did you use them then versus like, how do you use them now?
I don't remember how old I was when I first learned what tarot cards were. I must have been young and have seen them in media or something. I don't know. I got my first tarot deck when I was maybe 14 or 15.
Okay.
But I had my first reading that I remember when I was 13. And I remember it very specifically because I went in and I sat down, and the woman, she did like a very traditional spread. It's a Celtic cross spread, which is like a super traditional tarot spread. I think
so that's like some cards up and down and some cards sideways.
Yes.
Is that what that means? Okay.
Yeah, in a spread, it's essentially you put cards in different positions and each position has a meaning. So you read this card in this position, like with this meaning. The easiest to explain is like a past, present, future. So that card in your past represents your past, the present represents the present, the future represents the future. It's that concept.
Yeah, so like a quick, so there's lots of different ways you can
Yes.
do a reading is what you're saying.
Yeah, so there are millions of different spreads out there. You don't need a spread, you can write your own. But for this story, I remember she did a Celtic cross spread, which is a traditional one. If you want to look it up, you can. I'm sure there's lots of history. I don't have time to.
And you could probably do that one too. Like
I could.
Yeah.
I don't typically do Celtic cross spreads because they don't. I always get information that I don't need, or it's missing something that I do. So
Ooh, so it's so you're able to interpret like what kind of spreads would work best for you.
Yes.
Oh,
well,
that's neat.
I have been lately. My favorite thing has been to ask someone a question or figure out what they need. Do a past, present, future just to get a baseline, and then whatever questions they have, I'll pull a card for each and go from there.
Oh, neat.
And that has been working really well for me. So you can read tarot almost however you want. Like there are no firm rules.
So here's a question. So you felt drawn to this, right? And you got your first deck at 14, and then like how did you use it? How did you know what questions to ask? Like, did you just say like, I have a question, I don't know what to do, I'm gonna go ask the cards, or like how did you? Because coming from someone like I have a couple decks. I have an archetype card deck and some other art cards, and then I pull a card a week, and then that sets my intention. And sometimes I journal, and sometimes I just keep it in my head and write poems or whatever. But neither of those are tarot decks. So
I'm trying to like explain things as I go so that people who don't know the terms I'm using are going to understand. But I'm going to get sidetracked.
It's okay.
You can put me back on track. It's okay.
It's cool. It's a certain conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, can you repeat your question? I apologize.
Oh, so just like, can everybody read a deck, and how do you know what questions to ask?
Yes. So I feel the need to make the distinction between a tarot deck and an oracle deck really quick.
Yes, let's do this.
Tarot follows a specific structure of cards. It has a specific number. They all have meanings. There's like, and people will go through and like change the meanings, but it's still a tarot deck because it still follows that format. An oracle deck is anything that doesn't follow another tradition of card decks or another system of card meanings. So the creator of the deck has just made up their own. So your archetype deck, I think, could be considered an oracle deck. I'm not entirely sure. It might follow tradition, but most archetype
probably doesn't.
Yeah. So really anybody can read cards. I feel like there's this whole thing of like, oh, if you have psychic talents, like if you don't have psychic talents, you can't read. If you do,
so like that's a whole thing. Like that's the first thing people say. Like you have to be psychic to read tarot. Like
that's not true.
Okay.
It's like riding a bike or playing basketball or like any other skill. Anybody can learn it if they want to and they work hard enough at it. And you have some people who are naturally more gifted in that area or have more natural talent. But again, it's like anything else where if you want to, there's a way. You can figure it out. Like you don't have to feel as though you have psychic gifts to pick up a deck of tarot cards and have them.
So like having that open mind and being willing to learn something new.
Yes.
The biggest tools you would need to enter into reading tarot.
Yes. Okay. And it is helpful to kind of know the meanings of cards. And if you want, I can talk about how to pick a first tarot deck and how to get into tarot.
Maybe you can suggest a tarot deck and then I'll put a link.
Yeah.
And so people can go nab one.
I mean, really, if you want to start, like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is like the original tarot deck that was created that most current tarot decks follow the format for.
Okay, that's the OG. All right.
Yeah. There are other decks that follow a different system, and there are other like card deck systems like Lenormand, but I don't read Lenormand. I don't know a lot about it, so I'm not going to talk a lot about it. But really, my recommendation to find a deck is find something with a good guidebook or with keywords on all the cards or both, and find art that you connect with. So look at the art on the deck before you buy it. And they have like great selection at like Barnes and Noble, or like you can get them on like bookshop.com, Amazon, like Hay House does them. Hay House has lots of sales. So just find a deck where you think that you can look at the art and know what that card means without even looking it up. That's my recommendation.
Ooh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and then I don't think I have time to give all my like beginning tarot advice and also talk about myself.
Yeah. So people are going to have to get in touch with you so you can kind of teach them along the way with a reading maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as I do the reading, I can also narrate my process so that you can see how I read cards too. I'm working on getting an Instagram account up and running, and that will have more beginning resources and stuff for people who want to get started and
that's exciting.
Are looking for how to do that.
Yay, but we will have links to getting in touch with you for readings and everything for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. They'll be on there. So fear not, listeners and watchers, you will be able to connect for sure. All right. So I have a total random question. I'm gonna throw this at you. I'm gonna throw these 2 questions at you about tarot, and then we'll get into the reading. So recently you shared with me that sometimes you have a hard time like getting out of your head, like with a bunch of problems to try to figure out the problem. So it's just like all up there. So has tarot like helped you with that? Like getting out of your head? Like if people kind of get stuck certain places, like some people get stuck in like their feelings mode and like and some people get stuck in the head. And
yes. Tarot is actually one of my like go-to if I don't know what else to do, I will pick up a tarot deck. And that has been historically so helpful for me. I don't know how much time we have for me to like really walk you through my story.
Talk to me through how it's like how it's helped you.
So I had a reading when I was 13. I didn't tell the woman anything, like I didn't ask her any questions, but she essentially, the reading told me to come out to my family. And I did, and it like everything she said was spot on, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I want to get into this. And so I got my first deck, and I would read with it like sporadically, but it was a Thoth tarot deck, which is different from the Rider-Waite-Smith. So the card meanings are a little bit different, and I didn't get a guidebook with it.
Ooh,
so I had
that's more challenging.
Yeah. Well, thankfully all of the cards had keywords, but I had a little white, like flimsy paper guidebook that most decks come with that gave you like 4 or 5 keywords for all the cards. And then it would give you like astrological associations. So really when I started out reading, I was going off of the keyword on the card and the art and nothing else. Which to this day is still how I read pretty much. Like I go mostly off of intuition, and the cards are just a place to start. But I was in a relationship, and both of us were very sick. We had like a lot of mental illness stuff going on. I'm not going to get into details. But I ended up being kind of like more of a crisis counselor to this partner than I was really like a partner for them. And so there would be nights where they would, stop responding to me, and I'm like, did they fall asleep or are they dead? Like, what's going on? And I would pull out the tarot deck, and the tarot deck I would ask, how do I help them? What can I do to support them? What can I do to support myself in this moment? Like, how can I take care of myself? I would ask, are they okay? And the cards would have an answer. And so it's in those moments where I have no idea what to do, have no one else to turn to. I have done everything I can think of, and it's not enough, that I turned to tarot when I first started reading, and it got me through those moments time and time again. Wow. And that was when I was like, okay, this is real, this is cool, and this is also something that I need in my life more. And so I had a moment when I was, in the hospital. I was really sick, and I kind of I call it like waking up. It felt like I came back to my body, and the knowledge that I had was, I don't want to be sick anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to like take my recovery seriously. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get out of this place. And I was like, I'm going to do it with tarot. I'm going to do it through spirituality. And I had done some research before, but when I got out of the hospital, I like, obviously I was taking care of myself and I was like doing a lot of recovery work, but I was also, researching. I was reading. I was starting to learn more about the tarot and learn more about the other stuff that I thought would help me. And that kind of got me where I am today. Now, you don't have to be in crisis to read tarot. And I actually, if you are in crisis, would not recommend turning to tarot right away. Like, definitely reach out for help. Like, you have resources, please use them. Like
tarot can be one of them.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Don't let tarot be like your only support system when you're in a rough spot. But it is one thing that you can do, especially if you don't know what to do or you're not sure if you're blowing a situation out of proportion. You can ask cards and get kind of further clarification. So that's what I use them for now, is if there's something that I don't know and I would like to know more about it, I will ask the cards for clarification or to kind of point me in the right direction to find more information, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I can try and give an example. I don't know, like if I'm going into a job interview and I'm like, how's this going to go? Pull a few cards.
Mm-hmm. So first, I'd like to thank you for sharing your journey.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of courage. And I know that our community appreciates you being authentic and showing up. And I was very inspired, and I was also very curious about that point in your journey when you kind of decided to wake up and you said, all right, I'm going to do tarot. And then I'm gonna, and then you started kind of like digging into all these different facets of tarot and things that interest you. And my question is that in that moment when you decided to tarot, because I have healing modalities that I turn to that make me feel connected. Like when I really feel like the whole shit hitting the fan, like I'm like, I have to go sit at the roots of a tree right now. There's nothing else in that tree. Preferably it would be like a pine tree, but like there's nothing else in my world that can make me feel like as rooted and connected, like as that. I mean, obviously I would have other support, and you have other support, and you're advocating like tarot's not the only way. It's one of a array.
It's a tool in your toolkit.
Yes.
It should not be the only thing that you use.
This is a tool. This isn't the only thing.
Although for me at the time, that was all that I had, or that's all that I felt like I had. And I'm really grateful for it.
So did you feel like connected? Like does tarot help you feel connected in a certain way? Like connected more to your intuition or to the universe?
Yes. It does. It helps me feel not necessarily in control, but like I am able to control something about my situation, or like I am an active participant in my situation. Like life isn't happening to me, I am living. And if there's ever a situation where I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. For example, if I'm like having a fight with a friend, or if I've just had a really crazy day and I like at work and, coworkers are mad at each other and people are yelling and stuff like that, I can come home and I'll pull 3 cards and just ask, like, what is going on? Like, excuse my profanity, but like, sometimes I will just sit down and ask my deck, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You get an
got to
answer.
be honest with the deck if the deck is going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And, yeah, and And the cards will give me further clarification. They will say, hey, yeah, that person was being kind of awful to you. You're okay. It's okay that you're mad. You should stand up for yourself. Or they'll tell me, pick your battles. That sucked, but you're not going to see that person again. Like, you don't need to make
think
this a
about it.
thing.
Think about the next. Tread lightly.
Mm-hmm. Or it'll tell me, you're just having a bad day. Sleep on it. Talk to them again tomorrow. It's not as big of a deal as you think it is right now.
I love that, because sometimes we get overwhelmed with emotion. Like, I've been dealing with a lot of emotion from political events recent, and so I'm like, now is not the time for me to make decisions right now, because I have all this other stuff like clouding my vision. So, yeah,
it's really great. I had a falling out with a friend a while ago, and while that was happening, I was pulling tarot cards the whole time, like, what is her perspective on this situation? What is she thinking about? And then what am I thinking about? And then where is the miscommunication happening? And that can be really helpful to kind of get some insight into what the other person is trying to say to you and not, or it's not coming across, or you're not able to hear it. And like, what are they not hearing that you're saying? That can be really helpful, because then you don't just go around in circles. You can kind of
Tarot's kind of like a third party spotlight.
It can be, yes.
Like on something, you'll be like, oh yeah, I see, like, there's these two spots here, and I see that, and I see that one, and then all of a sudden, like, there's this floodlight that happens entirely different part of the view. You're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
And it can also, well, there are many belief systems as to how tarot works. I should probably touch on this briefly, just for anyone who's not familiar. In my belief system, the tarot deck itself is not telling you anything. It is the universe or spirit or the divine or God or whoever, whatever you believe in and follow, speaking through the cards to you.
I love that. So your intuition is open to receiving the extra information from universe, God, higher power, Mother Nature, etc., etc., etc. Whoever you believe in. I love that.
And it, like, each deck, I describe them as being like a different language. So for anyone who speaks more than one language, you know that you read poetry in one language and it's cool, and you read the translation into another language and it's still cool. Like, the meaning is still there, but the rhythm is different and it just doesn't have the original vibe. And so that's how I explain tarot cards, is some languages have better words for describing something.
I love that. Different ways and different rhythms.
Yeah. Or another way to describe it is different art mediums. Like, you can paint a horse in watercolor, acrylic, and with charcoal, and you're going to get 3. It's still a horse. You're still saying the same thing. It's still a picture of a horse. But they're very different, like, moods. Like, that's how I describe, like, why I have different tarot decks.
I love that. And so, speaking of tarot decks, how about we move on to our reading? So, do you have a specific reading that you want to do, or?
I don't have a reading picked out for you. Do you have a question or anything you would like to know?
So I am about to embark on, like, changing things up somewhat significantly in my, like, career, because I'm kind of stepping away for some things and, like, trying to open up a space for other things. And so I don't know, maybe, like, what do I need to know during this time of transition for myself? Or we can do a past, present, future. I'm cool with that, because I did one.
What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do both. I'm going to do a past, present, future for that. So your past career, your present career, your future career.
Ooh, I like that.
And then from there, if you have any clarifying questions or anything else you would like to know or touch on, we can ask clarifying questions. And when I read, I always start by knocking on my deck. The deck I'm using today is the Darkwood Tarot by Sasha Graham and Abigail Larson, if you want to, like, screenshot
That's
or
very, very pretty.
if you like this deck and you want to get it for yourself. This has an excellent guidebook. The readings tend to be pretty direct. I've heard people say, not a good beginner deck. I think any deck is a good beginner deck if you like it. I started reading on a Thoth deck with no guidebook, and I'm fine. So, like, you're going to be okay. And, yeah. So I'll just pull 3 cards, or 4, if another one decides to fall out.
Okay, then
There's
it will.
really no rules when I read.
You're just keeping it loose. Keeping it loose.
I should have set up a camera so that I could show you kind of as I'm picking cards. Oh dear. And we had another one fall out, so you get 4.
Oh, okay. So the ones that fall out are in play. They're in play.
And now a bunch of them just fell off my table. So as I'm reading, I have these like spread out on the table, and I am just running my finger along them, and the right card will feel. Yeah.
Oh, I love
a Thoth
that.
deck, no guidebook. It was quite an introduction to tarot. But yeah, the right one will feel like tingly or warm for me. Okay, I'm gonna pick up the cards I dropped. But yeah, it always feels different. Some people don't get that. Some people will just shuffle them until it feels right, and then they will draw cards from the top down.
Oh, okay. Everyone kind of figures out their own rhythm, like their own way.
Some people let cards fall out of the deck too. It's really watch other people read tarot and take things that they do that you like, or like techniques that they use, and apply them to your own readings. I have a couple more cards to grab.
So yeah. So Sarah shared with us Thoth deck, no guidebook, good goddess.
Yes. Yeah, it was definitely interesting. Yeah, and I also started, as I was learning card meanings, I would just read with the major arcana, which the way tarot is set up, you have 4 suits, like in a typical playing card deck, and then you have 22, counting like the 0 suit. Card. In each suit, you have 14 cards, and then you have 22 cards that aren't in a suit, called the major arcana, and they just have titles, and they tell you about the Fool's Journey, at least in the Rider-Waite-Smith. I would have to read more about the Thoth, but it also has the major arcana, and it does tell a story.
Is the Fool's Journey like the hero's journey?
Yes, it's very similar, actually.
Oh, that's what I was like. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but it's really cool because it starts with the Fool card, which is like, you're brand new to this journey. It's not even card 1, it is card 0. It's like, you are brand new, this is a new adventure for you. And then it ends with the World, which is saying this adventure is closing, but a new one is starting.
Oh,
so it's like that. It's a journey, but it's also a cycle.
Yes.
So yeah, so I have here 3 cards for you, and then the card that fell out. The card that fell out is the Page of Cups. Okay. Which is so the Suit of Cups is all about emotions. And intuition, which is interesting that you were saying that you were doing along with that recently.
Yes.
So the pages are all like students to their suit, at least the way that I read them. There's a million different ways to read core cards, which is your page knight, king, and queen. It's the not numbered cards in the suit. So for this card, you are kind of getting to know yourself in a new way in terms of like through your career. So that is the overarching theme. This one isn't part of the spread. This one just fell out. So I read those as like a theme in your life. If you're asking a question, it's like an answer to the question that's not part of the spread or that I haven't addressed. So in your past, you have the 10 of Wands. And
that's a spooky card. It's like a cloaked lady with a light.
It's not the worst. Most of the cards in this deck are kind of spooky. It's like a spooky spooky fairy tale theme deck. And I think the guidebook for this card in this deck is slightly different, but I'm going to read it with the traditional meaning, which is overwhelm. You have worked really, really hard and you're tired and you're not, like, it's over. You've gotten what you needed, but you're like, was the journey worth it? To kind of get you to where you are now.
Yes, that reminds me of the journey of more of in the motherhood realm. So my son is this Saturday he's turning 16.
Oh.
So he's gonna like, I mean, he's been riding his bike a lot of places, but like when he starts driving, that opens up like a whole different door, right? A whole different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's maybe what that's all about.
Mm-hmm. Could be. And I believe this was in the context of career as well.
Oh,
So it
yes.
a lot of
Yes,
times
so
when
I
you
would have
read,
been overworked fundraiser in my past
yeah.
career. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of times when you do a reading, like even if it's focused, sometimes the cards will decide to talk about something else that they think you need to hear more. Like I've had people come in for career readings and the cards are like, we're actually going to talk about your relationship because your relationship is keeping you from being able to have the career you want. That's the issue. Or sometimes I will sit down and I will ask about a relationship and the cards will be like, we're actually going to talk about this other thing that happened in the past that is keeping you from being able to answer the question that you're asking me. But yeah. Or you'll sit down and you'll draw cards and it'll apply to many areas of your life. So yeah, this card is talking. Sorry, the camera's inverted. It's
and that could be right now, like the reason that I'm making, one of the reasons I'm making this big shift is because I can see burnout coming again. Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
And that's actually, that rings true for our second card, which is the Seven of Swords reversed. And I did not shuffle reversals into this deck. That's where the card is upside down. I'll hold it right side up so you can see the art better. But reversals, there's a bunch of different ways to read them. Some people have one way that they read them every time. I'm going to look it up in this guidebook because I like this guidebook's reversal meanings. I kind of read it individually based on the deck and the context. But the Seven of Swords upright is about like deceit and like pretending. It can be lying. It can be betrayal. Not saying that that's what's happening. It is reversed.
So the reversal, when there's a reversal, so you're going to look up what that means.
Yes. So it does change the meaning of the card. Some people read it as the opposite of the card. So they would read it as loyalty, I guess, for the Seven of Swords.
Okay,
I'm not
honesty
sure.
Or loyalty or something.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who reads them that way, but some people do. Some people will read them as like that energy, but something is blocking it or changing it. So it would be, you're struggling to tell the truth right now. Like you want to slip into that place where you are like putting on a show and like pretending to be someone else and you're struggling to be your authentic self. I would say that that's a reading or a meaning that rings true for you. I'm going to read what the book still has to say. Yeah, so in this guidebook, the Seven of Swords reversed is about looking at what you want and how that's different from what you are getting and how things will change if you like try and get the things that you actually want instead of the things that you should want.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then, so I'm going to walk you through all three cards and then I'll put it all in context for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this isn't, I will come back and touch on this again. I'm just getting you oriented.
Yeah.
And then in your future, you have the Seven of Cups reversed. I'm going to look this one up too.
Another reversal.
Yes.
Wow.
Which is really funny. Sometimes I spread the deck upside down. I don't know. Sometimes cards fall out. I wind up with a lot of reversals that I didn't put there.
Yeah. Just because that's how it's meant to be.
Yeah. And it I just take it as the card saying, I don't have the language I need with all these cards upright. So I'm going to And usually what
Need to
happens is I
expand the
drop the deck.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's really what
Oh.
it does, is it lets it complicate the meanings of the cards. So the Seven of Cups, and this is reversed. I'm holding it up right so you can see the art better.
That's very pretty.
It is upright. It is about overwhelm or you're overwhelmed by choices. And none of them are necessarily bad choices. It's a lot of good choices, but you have no idea what to pick.
Choices.
Yes. And it like you're just stressed because you're like, I have no idea what to do in this situation. Or, you know, I'm being torn in all these different directions and I don't know what to pick and I feel like I can't have it all. So in the future, it's asking you, you know, are you turning away from situations that require further attention? Are you ignoring all of these choices? So in the context of a career reading, I would take this to mean in your past, you know, you were overworked fundraiser employee, like felt like people didn't appreciate the work that you were putting forward. In your present, you are working on trying to be your authentic self and trying to go after the things that you want instead of the things that everyone else thinks that you should want. And in your future, you are working on addressing situations fully. And like making sure to at least acknowledge all of the choices being presented to you, even if you don't think it's something that you would do, just being open, keeping an open eye.
Yeah, I think that's always hard. It's like when you're in entrepreneur space, it's like not just and like saying like, all right, I'd like to go to this A, B, and C sound really good, but staying open to like D through Z.
Yeah.
Is, you know, and just being receptive to it, like, oh, could it look this way or could it look that way? Yeah. I think is something that I need to continually like adapt. And so yeah, your cards really reinforce that, like, you know, when I step back and I try my, you know, pivot in my new way, I still need to be as open as possible. Like my way of outreaching and finding my choices is not the only way, and other choices are going to come at me from other random sides.
Absolutely.
No.
And then
I
your
love
card.
that.
I'm glad. And your card that fell out, your Page of Cups, this is kind of telling you approach your emotions with curiosity as you're going through this journey instead of judgment or, you know, this is how I should be feeling, this is what I should be doing. Just let yourself feel things and then form conclusions about what you're feeling.
I love
like,
that.
Process and then handle. And so I think, I'm not sure how much time, if we're ending at 12:50 or at 1.
Normally we go, you know, we can go like another 5 minutes or so. That's okay. Cool. Yeah.
So I'm going to pull one more card. And I have been ending a lot of my readings this way lately, and I absolutely love it. But asking, what is one thing that you're really good at, one strength that you have that is going to get you through whatever you're going to? What's the thing that you're going to lean on to get you through this stuff of your journey?
Okay.
I'm going to spread my cards more carefully so I don't drop them this time.
So you spread them out like a fan. Is that what you're doing? Okay.
So I spread them. I don't know how to explain it. But like you like set it on the table and then spread it out so they make a fan like on the table. This works better with some decks than others because decks that have glossy cardstock are going to be more slippery, and decks with matte cardstock are typically harder to shuffle but much easier to photograph. Among other things.
Every deck has its own superpower.
Yes. And that's why I recommend, like, there is no one universal beginner deck. Find a deck that calls to you or that feels right for you. So the card that I have pulled for your strength is the Lovers reversed. I'm going to go ahead and look up this reversal again because
another reverse.
I honestly think that I might have just flipped the deck upside down. But
that's what it was meant to be.
Yeah. So the Lover's upright is about relationships. It is about love. Not always necessarily romantic love. It can be partnerships, but it also is about duality and choices. So reversed, there is something you're good at, like being skeptical or evaluating those things. And what is that guy looking at?
If that is true, I know exactly what that means for my life right now.
Yeah. So this is another thing that's really interesting, because when you look up the meaning for the Lover's reversed in this guidebook, it's a lot of like addictive and like obsessive patterns, but that's not a strength, I would say. But what is a strength is your dedication to things. So you find something that you love and you will stop at nothing to get it. Like, you are really good at accomplishing your goals, and you're really good at creative solutions to things.
Oh, excellent.
And so that's another example of, if you get a card that doesn't make sense with the meaning in the guidebook, finding a way that it does make sense in the context of the reading. So
I love that.
Yeah. So, you are you're hardworking about the things that you're passionate about and about relationships.
Yeah, relationships is pretty much like the core of why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I'm also in a place right now. I realize that I have some energy drains in my life, and a lot of those are people. So I've been like kind of evaluating them, like when you were talking about it, like trying to figure out like who's, what kind of things are draining me right now, and how do I need to address them?
And so, that can be another thing.
Yeah, because in the past I was a codependent, and I would have stayed in the relationship and not acknowledge the energy drain. But now that I'm more skeptical and I'm more like in the self-love arena and not dependent upon other people's affections for me, then yeah, exactly. That totally makes sense. Well, that's fabulous.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For coming on. I am very blessed, and our Joyfully Ever After community is very blessed to have you on the show. And this was a great reading. So, Ej, how can we find you? Where are you at currently? Like, how can people book a reading?
So if you want to book some guidance on how not to totally freak out when we pull the Tower card, yes, I'll say where you can find me, and then I'll try and give a quick.
Here's a question from someone. Can you please give us some guidance on how to not freak out when we pull the Tower card? Okay.
So really quick, in case you have to get going, trailsedgeastrology.com is going to have a website where you can find like my info and also like all of my mom's info, because we run our business together. She does astrology stuff. She's great. I think she was also on your podcast a while ago too.
Yes. Fabulous.
Or you can email trailsedgetarot@gmail.com, which you can link. And you can email me directly just to set up a reading. I don't have like a way to book online currently because my schedule is crazy. But you can email me and we'll find a time. I do my readings over Zoom typically, so because we don't have a physical location.
Yeah, sure. And that makes you more accessible to more people.
Yes. But that also means if you're out of state, you can book a reading and not have to drive. But to not freak out when you pull the Tower card, my thing is take a deep breath, take a step back. This is the deck trying to get my attention, not telling me that the world's going to end. And the cards are not set in stone. The future is not set in stone. So there's usually it's a warning card, and it's a sign for you to change your behavior. It's usually not something that's outside of your control, or if it is outside of your control, there's always something you can do to make it easier to manage it. So the first thing I do is take a step back and do that little reminder, and then pull clarifying cards. So ask questions. What area of my life is this energy affecting? how am I dealing with it? Where is this coming from? And just kind of getting a clearer picture around what it's trying to say.
So dive into the specific and don't let it
Yes.
generalize your entire view of like your whole world. So
Yes.
so keep asking the questions, right? And that keeps us open, right, to getting more information.
Yes, but also as you're doing it, if you're panicking and you're expecting an answer, sometimes I find that those are the cards that I pull instead of It is tempting to just reshuffle. And sometimes, like we make choices. Sometimes you make a choice the very next day, or just drawing that card is enough to steer you clear of that situation or out of like direct harm's way, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah,
So
to give you that like third spotlight. Say like,
yeah.
oh, hey, didn't know there's a hole right there that is a giant chasm. Thank you.
Yeah, but again, the cards are here to help you. They are not here to tear you down. So at the end of the day, my two biggest questions, if I have nothing else that I can ask, what are my strengths? What am I good at that is going to help me through this situation? Like force the deck to compliment me. And what can I control in this situation?
Ah, wow.
Like, how can I take control? How can I take care of myself? So that's my advice there.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of times we feel like the world's spinning out of control and there's nothing we can do, but there's always something we can do. We can always take care of ourselves. We can always breathe. We can always connect, and we can always ask more questions. That is one of the things I have learned today. All right. So I'm going to end this show. I'm going to, all my guests get an affirmation from the snowman of affirmation. So do you have a preferred color? I have orange, pink, yellow, or green, or you want me to just pick?
Can we do a green one?
All right. I'm going to dig deep for a green. All right. I am perfectly imperfect.
That is what I needed to hear today. Yeah.
That is a good one. The snowman has spoken. And thank you so much for
thank you so much for having me.
Coming on the show and explaining to a very newbie how all this works and what it is, and kind of debunking some myths, and this is fantastic. Kelly says that was fantastic. Thanks so much. Yay, Ej. Woohoo.
Yeah.
And we will have you back on the show some other time to do some more readings. That was just fantastic.
Because I would love to talk more about like beginning resources and also like some intermediate resources, and like more about my journey too, and how tarot has helped me. Like I have many things that
Sounds good.
I would love to talk about.
When I work through this part of my journey, I will reach out again. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And everyone out there, feel free to go. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Joyfully Ever After with Heidi Esther. You can find me on Apple Pod and all that kind of good stuff to get more upcoming Through the Looking Glass conversations. Until next time, I'm Heidi Esther. Thank you again, Ej, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.